Welcome to the J.Geiger Studios podcast, where we help you achieve your ideal outcome. We're here to provide value to you and your organization every step of the way. I'm your host and guide on this journey, J.Geiger, and I'm happy you are here with us today. Today in the studio, we have Justen Geiger, our Director of Consulting Services here at J.Geiger Consulting. And that title does not even begin to explain all the things that you do and what has happened over the past almost 12 years now that you've been part of our team. Yeah, helping grow this thing.
Right. Well, thanks for having me on the show today. Letting me be a voice of the company, as I am so often.
Yeah.
But
You've even gotten up and you've spoke in front of crowds. I mean, there's all this stuff that I knew you were capable of, but maybe you wouldn't have.
Well,
I don't know.
If you would have gone back and asked, high
years.
School Justen, you're going to be a public speaker, or you're going to, do all this other stuff.
Well, you might have believed yourself.
I would have believed myself if I was going to be a programmer, but certainly not in the vein of doing all the public speaking that I do, because speech class terrified me, and now I just don't care.
Is that what you have to do? Is you have to not care?
Yeah, you just have to not care what anybody thinks about you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice to everybody. Don't care what other people think.
Yeah,
because it really doesn't matter.
No, because they,
Yeah, I very rarely get nervous anymore. And usually it's just something I do to myself, even for no reason. And mostly it's because of being up in front of peers. Like if it's something really super like knowledge based and in front of my peers, then I get a little bit more nervous because I don't want to come off wrong. But why? Sure. Why should I care?
Yeah.
I mean, because
you don't look dumb.
No, I know, but we're experts in our fields, and if someone's going to look at you and judge you based on your presentation,
and that's what I'm saying is it doesn't really matter, because most of those people know just as much. There's very few people that know that much more on a topic that we're presenting on in any sort of way. So. That gives comfort, I guess. And ultimately, to me, it just comes down to, people are afraid to be up in front of the mic, and they respect you for that, even if
just for getting up there.
Yeah, right. Even if you're going to be a little wrong on something, it's unlikely that, anybody cares that much.
Right.
But yeah, no, I wouldn't have thought all the presenting and public speaking.
Well, yeah, and I just had all the practice.
Well, you're Mr. DJ, man.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
You're the attention seeker. Give me the spotlight.
It used to be like that.
I've known you most of your life, and I've never seen the other side of you. So
yep, that's true.
Must have been something I brought out of you. A maturity I brought out of you at the young age of 18.
That's right. Well, that's so funny you're bringing that up. Is most of the time I get together so far with all the people that I do podcasts of, I've only met them in the last 2 years, 5 years, whatever. When Matt is the next, well, actually Adam is the next closest in length of years that I've known them. Clearly, I've known you all your life. You've known me more than half my life.
And if it's not clear to the listeners out there, I am Jeff's son.
Yes, that's right.
We just assume sometimes people know. I'm not his brother, and don't say that.
Yes, that's offensive to him, but not to me.
It's not offensive. It's annoying. But you can see his head swell. It's stupid.
Yep. The headphones won't even fit.
Yeah, right. We won't be able to do the podcast anymore.
Right. Yeah. Have they accused you, Jordan, of being my brother yet? No, it's a little more clear.
Yeah, he's got youth on his side.
Maybe you need to spend more time in the sun.
That's what happens when you put 10 years between kids.
Yep, I suppose. Well, yeah, I think Adam would be the next one, because I met him in 99. So you had 20 years on him. No. How old were you in 99?
Not 20.
No, you'd have been 11. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's where I usually start with everybody. And here it's totally different. And thanks for clarifying that for anyone listening. My head did swell the few times that people look at us. I think the last time was we were traveling, and you guys ran ahead. It was in Denver airport. I had the fast pass, that I had set up. You guys needed to go get in line, and I checked in my bags last, and the lady's like, "Oh, I just had the same name here. Are you guys brothers?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That was the last time.
Yeah. Right.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so, and we mentioned earlier that you've been here for 12 years now, right? Going on 12 years?
No, 11, right? 2013 is when I started.
Okay, 11 years.
So it'll be about 11.
In what month? I don't even remember. March. Okay, so it'll be 11 full years, and you'll be working on your 12th year.
Yep.
Okay. So, talk about a little bit about your career path and stuff like that, because I think my attitude has completely changed too about college education, the whole knowledge versus wisdom kind of a thing. Like I'm completely changed. I think even your mom,
sure,
her mind's completely changed too.
It's interesting. I mean, and you talk knowledge and wisdom too, right? That's an interesting one that you only get that by growing up, right? It's just one of those things that I didn't understand it. One of my favorite stories you tell about knowledge and wisdom is, you felt you had the knowledge when you were young and just like trying to prove myself and I can do this. I can, start a branch of where I can do anything. Why don't they give me the opportunity? Why, and you're fighting for it, which is good because that drive is what helps people achieve things. But it's because of that wisdom you gain along the way. But from the knowledge perspective, I guess I'm a self-taught person. I mean, I don't talk about it that much, but I didn't have any formal schooling in any of this. I mean, I went to school for a little bit. I never graduated, but it was all just self-taught. I mean, I don't know if you mentioned having Adam on.
We mentioned Adam a little bit ago. Yep.
Yeah, he's been instrumental in my career.
He's been a great mentor.
Yeah, from a mentor perspective. I mean,
not just on the technical side either.
No. I mean, when I cut my teeth in J.D. Edwards 11 years ago, starting as a developer, which I would have believed. But I would go over to his house every day and I would, we would work on the projects that the client was giving us. And, I would ask questions. He was always available to me as I would, create my first UBEs or make my first application changes in J.D. Edwards. And, it was.
And how long?
It was a preferable experience for me. I'm a hands-on learner.
Yep.
It's how I like to learn. I like to self-teach myself. I am a life learner in that way. I love learning and I like reading and I like absorbing what's going on. But
and you do audiobooks too.
Yeah, the classroom setting was always a struggle for me because I don't know, I guess I'm too practical for my own good because I understand as I've grown up the foundational steps that it gives you to help you open doors.
Right. But the pace, I'm guessing, was probably too slow.
Yeah, right. And to me, it was, why am I even doing this? I just want to get out there and start adding value.
Today, and I'm spending a whole day in school, and I get only one little tiny nugget out of it.
Right. And so what that teaches you is how to, work through day-to-day life, how to work through problems that are, you have to be able to, go through some of those steps to solve. Right. Fortunately, I suppose I had the door opened for me differently. I was working at Cold Stone, and you called up and said you had an opportunity for me to get into the IT game, and that we had a customer that really just wanted
like entry level.
New entry level in his career, doesn't need to have any experience.
Yep, lower rate.
Right, super low rate type person.
Yep.
And so that was my opportunity, and I saw it as my opportunity to forego the college experience because I was unlikely to finish that.
So
ever.
You see college the same way I see it now, I think, where it's a thing that when you have your degree, it proves that you can go through something for 4 years and finish.
Yeah,
and it's like the initial door opener.
Yeah,
but if you don't need that,
it's a door opener, and it's a easy metric to to show that you can do that. And this is not necessarily encompassing of all careers necessarily, but the careers that I had lined up in front of me, you know, in the business world, in IT, it's available to, the barrier to entry isn't necessarily that far away.
So what would you recommend to someone who maybe doesn't like or maybe, you know, doesn't thrive in a classroom type environment, but wants to get into a more career type thing? What would you recommend to them?
I would say probably going to a more technical focused college is where I would start. That's where, if I had to start it over and I had no other opportunity to get into something, either I need to start from the ground up and just get into some CSR type help support level 1 role and then prove myself through there. How do you prove yourself? You do that through being a life learner by showing the initiative of, well, I'm going to learn how to do .NET coding, or I'm going to learn how to build Power BI reports, or whatever it is that speaks to you. You know, different people have different needs as far as what they want to do with the life that we're given. So, yeah, that's one way. And then the other way, like I said, going a more technical college route, more of a 2-year degree, because that opens the door a little bit sooner to a higher level. Yeah, to a higher level IT type job where you don't have to. So it's where are you going to put your experience? Is it going to be in the education bit of it, going down that path, or the apply it right away and go, you know, do that through having a you know, CSR type job, or a level 1 help desk, or something.
One of the things
like
though that I've seen in the past about that is that at some of my clients is that they have these, like, they won't even have they would hire someone in a CSR position like you indicated, with high school or maybe, you know, a small technical type degree, but they wouldn't hire someone into like a system analyst or programmer analyst role without having a bachelor's degree. Like they would throw the resume in the toilet or in the garbage can and not even give someone the minute a day, even though they might be the best candidate. There's a gentleman that we've been working with for a while that he didn't have a degree, and he ended up going back for a degree. And I think he even went on for his master's, but he couldn't move up. And in fact, for him to stay employed at the one customer of ours, he needed to be going for his bachelor's degree. And I thought, wow, you're like shutting yourself off to all these potential, you know, especially given, and it seems like the curves of that, you know, how things happen over time, they're not jiving with today with such a tight labor market where you've got not enough resources and too many jobs, that we should open up those to people who are those lifelong learners you mentioned.
Right.
Seems like a miss on the part of businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get some of those that with the red tape gets in the way. And that's where we've found an interesting position as well, right? We've been able to, you know, hire that 2-year degree guy who is like the best of the best of the best.
And super genius.
Yeah, right. Yep. Where he can or she can run anything you give them, right? Give them your entire system and they can solve the hard problems. And we are able to capitalize on any of that red tape. People like that we are low red tape around here.
Right. So how many months? It was in months that you got proficient in JD Edwards.
Yeah. I would say, I think in the first, probably about 3 months. After 3 months, Adam,
he was there as your phone a friend if you needed it.
Yeah, right. We started, you know, I started taking on projects all on my own, meeting with the client on my own, getting the specs, and, you know, delivering the solution. He was there as I had questions. He was there if I needed any sort of like quality control type changes that I just thought were so robust that, well, I need to have someone double check this and make sure I'm not, you know, gonna mess something up too bad. But
well,
yeah, it was about 3
that's
months.
pretty quick. And, you know, I think back to that, it's kind of all a blur. But that was you know, you were the first, you know, real employee that we had on our team. And then from there, we just started growing. We brought another individual on, and then another individual on, and then someone left, and then we brought another person on, and now we're, you know, 20, 30 people and looking at expanding across the country. And I'd say last 4 or 5 years have been the biggest growth in that. And we're very heavy into a few customers. And now, you know, we've got a very large customer base that we're working on our relationships with them and trying to serve them as best we can. And hopefully the value we provide, they continue investing in us as well.
Yeah. So one of the things I was just remembering about when I first started, you gave me this packet of, it's like 1,000 pages long.
Yeah.
I'm sure pretty much every J.D. Edwards person has searched through it at one point or another.
Yeah. There were the PDF documents.
Yeah, the PDF, J.D. Edwards.
XE or 810 or whatever.
Yeah.
Printed.
Yeah, printed.
Did I give you a hard copy?
No, it was a PDF document. And
it had an index in it too.
It had an index. Yeah, thank goodness. And
I think it was on a CD.
I was starting to just try and learn some of the terminology. So I was sitting there writing notes, taking notes on it, trying to get through some of it.
Do you remember the yellow pad of paper?
I do.
Do you still have that?
I probably not.
Oh,
no.
Okay. Thought you had kept that to frame it.
Yeah, a little memento. Yeah. Well, so Jeff was explaining to me how the J.D. Edwards database works, and you know, if you've ever,
you had no context.
Not really, but I mean, I understood data and what, you know, how databases work, but I had no real context. But if you've ever been in a meeting with Jeff, you know the yellow notebook, and he's probably written a database for you, just like explaining on on a pad of paper or a whiteboard.
It's always yellow.
It is always yellow.
I don't know what it is.
You've probably seen this database before, but yeah, he's the whole thing. So I started, you know, naturally you just start at the first page, right? And the first thing was APIs and talking about J.D. Edwards APIs. So back 11 years ago, it was a little different landscape around APIs with J.D. Edwards.
Yeah, that was before orchestrations and even before business services.
Right. I started reading into it and I was saying, is this where I should be starting? And Jeff said, oh, no, you're not really going to have to use that ever. And it's interesting.
Now you are.
Well, I mean,
in a way.
Not in the same way, but yes, I mean, it's all around the APIs and orchestrations, how that's come about and,
I think that's
resurrected J.D. Edwards.
Yeah, you just hit on it right there. That's been the new shot in the arm for J.D. Edwards is the orchestrations and that extensibility that it now has.
Yeah, right. I mean, J.D. Edwards seems stable and secure for the next, 10 plus years now, where if you would have talked to me when I got into this, I think people were saying you're nuts. Right. Why are you learning J.D. Edwards?
This dying technology.
Yeah, right. And my answer was always that maybe dying, but you're still going to have a need. Companies can't get off of these types of products that quickly. So, I mean, it's just going to be a niche skill set eventually. It's not now because, like I said, stability has happened.
Right.
But I was always figuring it's going to be, at worst case, it's going to be a niche skill set that I can apply somewhere. Right. And at best case, we'll just keep doing this.
Right. There's still, in fact, if there's people out there that know RPG, that's actually an area where companies are struggling to find RPG programmers to keep their legacy systems maintained. And essentially the RPG, they're not growing new ones, really. I mean, RPG skilled folks and those folks with those skills are retiring at a rate higher than, way higher than when what they're coming into the market. So, and that the companies can get off.
That certainly was happening with J.D. Edwards too. I mean, I was the young guy for a long time. Yeah, probably for 7 years or so. Anymore? No, I'm not the young guy anymore.
Well, yeah, we've got Josh and a couple other guys.
Yeah, I've seen there was a little bit of a switch around when Orchestrator really started becoming a thing where you saw kind of some of the, younger IT guys thinking, all right, this is all right.
Yep.
So,
I think the last, looking back the last 5-6 years, because I think the big turning point in growth for you as an individual and for J.Geiger as a company was when we decided to open the first office over in City Center. We're in City Center East now, which is a different building. It's connected.
Oh, we found that out through the renovation.
Right. Yeah, wow. There's so much going on there. I think it's so connected, more connected than they realized, with data running through and power and fire alarms and you name it. But we're in City Center, right smack dab in the middle, and we moved into that first place. Did we, I don't recall, did we talk about whether or not we should do it before I did it, or did I just go do it?
No, we did. We toured a bunch of places. We looked at Zilke Building.
That's right.
We looked at the building, the one where Tandem used to be.
Oh, yeah,
over there.
right, the Edison. Okay, yeah, I forgot that. That actually was a really cool space.
Sorry.
That's a really cool space.
It was, yeah. And that would have been a good first space. I love where we ended up. I think the visibility was really cool. I missed that a little bit.
The visibility?
Bit.
Yeah, but we trade that for
a much nicer
and a much nicer, more professional office.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was weird being in a horseshoe like that. Yeah. It's nice to have one consistent space.
Well, we made the best out of it. I always, like using the term, like we made a silk purse out of a sow's ear on that one. It was basically 2 storefronts that we combined into one space, but
it looked cool from the outside with the glass.
Yeah,
it was cool looking.
I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on construction because we knew that at some point they're going to redevelop, which Dark Horse is doing now. They're, it's all gutted. And in fact, they're putting windows on the backside now where there never were windows. It used to be a hallway. It's completely changed. Yep. So, from that, I think that point forward was like the catalyst to all kinds of growth. And I think it was 2018 that we moved in. I have to go back and look at my photos and the date stamps on my photos, but we did the Christmas party and the fundraiser for the Avenue Angels, and we got a lot of press on that through LinkedIn. It kind of set the culture forward. Like it set us on our path to like the culture that we have. And we've been really purposeful about the things that we've done from a culture and I know we talk about that quite a bit. You want to give your perspective of what we've done in the last 5-6 years from a culture perspective and how we've been deliberate and how we've kind of planted the seeds to get what we have now?
Sure. Yeah. When I explain it, usually I say we're big enough to get the job done and small enough to care. And that's how we've been able to grow with our employees. We've been able to, do all the fun stuff, the stuff you expect, the Christmas parties, the summer parties. But we've also been able to really tailor an employment experience to our employees, right? There's always a little bit of red tape, but whenever you can meet the employee where they need to be met, everybody has such various needs. When you just blanket them, you lose people, but we're able to give them an experience that, is tailored to them, whether that's, they need more vacation or they don't want to take any vacation or
they want opportunity to earn more. Right. They want more free time, more flexibility.
Exactly. So the things you want to get out of a job. And then you talk about culture. Building up a servant leader style business, it makes sense for us, right? Our family, we've always been this way, right? Just being the servant to the people, putting on events, helping out, how can I help, right?
Yeah, I think your grandpa, I don't know if it's a nature and nurture thing exactly, but your grandpa is like that. Right. Like if he's somewhere and someone needs help or something needs to be done, he's rolling up his sleeves and doing it.
Right. So we've been able to take that I don't know, concept is probably not the right word, but that concept and be able to serve our employees with that
and our customers
and we serve our employees and they serve our customers better because we make sure they're taken care of. It's always interesting, as you grow from just me to having other people with other needs, right? We need to get health insurance. We need to get all these other benefits set up and, 401k and all that stuff that you would expect, right? From someone who is big enough to get the job done, right? You expect those kind of things. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it was 2020 we got the healthcare in place. The beginning of 2020, I think end of 2019 we were filling out paperwork, and it all started January 1st of 2020. And then a couple years later, a lot of people are starting to express interest in having a 401k and everything. And one of our team members got me in contact with someone and kind of spurred the conversation, and all I had to do was fill out some paperwork to get it started, and now we have a 401k plan. And we had an insurance, an entire insurance portfolio, including business insurance stuff, but the business insurance side of it was probably lacking a bit. We had minimal liability, minimal, whatever the minimum was that the maximum customer ask was, that's what we did. We didn't have cybersecurity, which that's another thing that I think as a business, if you don't have cybersecurity insurance coverage, think about getting it, especially today with the attacks that are happening on companies all around the world. So we've got that. We've got errors and emissions insurance, and we all the insurances. Where I feel like we're actually running like a strong company now, and a lot of that's because people in the company, people on our team participate in the process along the way to help get those things done.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I guess, what I was alluding to with the tailored experience is we've been able to take our employees and their needs and build upon that.
Yeah, and it's been really cool that not everybody wants everything all at once. They have been part of the incremental, like we've got some of our team that came on not too long after you got involved, and they've kind of grown with us with all that, and they've participated in input on what's important to them. So, yeah. Recently too, so kind of switching gears here, you started out with J.D. Edwards. You're still doing that, and you kind of can do the whole suite of J.D. Edwards, except you don't really do anything with CNC, although you know a little bit about how that stuff works.
Yeah.
With the orchestrations, opening up J.D. Edwards to the world to be able to do all kinds of stuff, we've added on through you and the team extensibility into J.D. Edwards, and you've even done a bunch of presentations on it. Yeah. What's your favorite?
Probably the UWB presentation. I mean,
ultra wideband.
Yeah, it's really tough to beat that presentation because it's so it's futuristic almost, because you don't see anything, right? I mean, you see something on the screen as things are happening, but as far I'm just moving a box from one place to another, and it's doing its thing.
So for people who are listening here, you can't see our pointing or any of our gesticulation, but imagine you're combining two technologies, ultra wideband, and which is it allows you to do positioning, very precise positioning.
It just uses radio waves to ultra wideband radio waves to position.
And that was a technology that's maybe 12, 14 years.
It's old. It's really old.
But released to the public. Because didn't that used to be a band that we couldn't use because it
was military
used
initially, and that's where its initial concept came up, and then it just never really. It was just not adopted, so it was expensive if you wanted to try and get into the game.
And they released it to the public. They opened it up so that companies could use it, right?
Yeah, I don't know when that happened or if that was what the barrier to entry there was, but ultimately what's driving it is the need to have more localized data, and to our cell phones have the ultra wideband chips in them now.
All of the new ones do?
Pretty much. Yeah, I know mine does.
Yeah, mine does. I think I have a iPhone 14.
Yeah, I have a Pixel 7. So most of the new technology has it in it. So you will see this becoming a more
and more
more mainstream technology, I think, because it will get easier to integrate with our devices, and it will get cheaper as it becomes more and more available.
And it has to be powered, and it's not passive, so it's not something that you can just put on anything.
Right. Yeah, you have to set up an infrastructure for it.
Excuse me.
So there is right now that's the barrier to entry to having one of these awesome systems is the infrastructure. Yep. But you could start small.
And once you have that infrastructure in place, from what we've learned through this whole process, you can layer new stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
And we coupled it with RFID technology. Mm-hmm. So we took an RFID reader and paired it with a UWB, so you'd know where that UWB was all the time, or where that RFID reader was all the time, and then that way you can move inventory then by picking it up in one place. It's attached to that reader, and then you drop it off somewhere else, and it's no longer attached to it, and do automatic inventory transfers and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, probably the most basic thing you could do is probably asset tracking. I mean, you can make heat maps or whatever of your warehouses very, very
where your
intuitively.
Equipment or your people are, so that you and you could pair it with other technologies like RFID or accelerometers or temperature sensors.
Yeah, it's a tool in the IoT tool belt.
Right,
is what it is. So
that's your favorite one.
Yeah, just because it's so wowing when you do the presentation, because people are like, "Oh my gosh, you mean we can actually do that?"
Right.
And yeah,
it's been a big hit at the events, and I'm looking forward to. Did it get selected? No, it was orchestrations and error handling. Mm-hmm. So we didn't get picked for that one yet.
Yeah,
I don't know if it will.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
because we've
done it twice now at InFocus and Blueprint,
and we've actually expanded our knowledge of RFID technology as well recently. That one's maybe not your favorite because of what? Because
we're just not there yet. I mean, we haven't. I haven't done a great presentation on it that we've gotten to knock people's socks off.
We maybe haven't invested enough in it quite yet.
Yeah.
But we will.
Sure.
Yeah. What about AI?
Yeah, well, so, I mean, that's the new buzz, right? I mean, everybody's, they're chatbots, ChatGPT, it's going to take over the world. You got Will Smith eating spaghetti, right?
I only saw that first time today.
Yeah, right.
That's a year old.
The AI version, that's really silly, yeah. His parody of it's new. But, so it's interesting what AI is going to do, what being able to quickly build chatbots is going to be able to do, being able to bring your own documentation into it so that it can spit that back out to your users in a natural language way, being able to integrate into systems
which we've done
with JD Edwards already. Is you ask it a question and then, do you want me to help you create this vendor? This is the information I need,
right.
And then you say, "Oh, sure," and then there you go, right? I mean, so we're Wild West of it a little bit right now. I mean, think back to when the internet was first coming out and those, feelings of Wild West, the goofy silliness of it, the neat things that we were figuring out that we could do with it. That's where we are now, and it's pretty fun to be.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little earlier today, and you mentioned another thing that's been like that. And I think about ringtones. How many people change their ringtones? We used to work really hard to get the right ringtone on our phones. I mean, you had to spend time finding the right one and downloading it and paying for them.
Or you wait for it to come on the radio and then you record a little bit of it and then you can save that on your phone and that's your ringtone. It's this crappy radio version of a song.
Yeah, but then now we're at a point where all that stuff's it's lost its shine, and we're focused on using it for a more utilitarian purpose.
Yeah, my phone stays on vibrate.
Yeah,
and silent unless Mine have something does. Very much that I need to do.
Yep, mine mostly does. I'm really looking forward to how we can use AI in practical ways to help us be better for our clients. I think I actually heard of somebody doing a conversion of a script yesterday. They asked AI to convert a script from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And instead of having to have someone go program that and spend hours doing that, we could do the 99% of it in seconds.
Right. I created a website with it. It's not. I mean, I'm not a graphical design guy, so there are obvious graphical things that it's not great at, but writing the underlying code to be able to create these buttons and links and whatever to different places to have a usable web tool. Yep. I mean, I'm not a web developer, but I was able to do it in 16 hours or so, churning out a fairly robust web app
not
website.
Having any experience doing that before.
Right. I mean, I've dabbled with HTML, but nothing to this extent. Right. So it's interesting.
And so I think and someone here in the office, I think, said this. I don't know where they heard it or if this was unique to what they said. This isn't my statement, but it's not going to be AI that takes over the world or that replaces people's jobs. It's going to be people who know how to use AI are going to replace those jobs. And it's just, you know, I mean, you look back at when automobiles came about, within a 5-year span, horses and the whole industry of caring for, trading, and you couldn't give a horse away back then. And thankfully, it cleaned up the streets. There wasn't horse poop everywhere. We like to go to Chicago and visit there, and I'd read in the book Devil in the White City, which I highly recommend. It's like 2 stories intertwined about the Chicago. It was on the anniversary of Columbus Day, so it was a Columbus Exposition, and the mass murderer, I forgot his name, but got to read the book, and it tells the story of his stuff that he did. Really great book, but it talked about some of that, about the history and how the streets, when it would rain, the river would get flooded with the garbage that was in the streets, and it was gross.
Yeah.
You would not have wanted to live in Chicago in the early 1900s or late 1800s. It was not good. We have it so good today, and we forget. And it's because of advances and things like that, and us taking things and applying them practically like AI. And we just, you know, submit to your overlords and go along with the AI.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if that's how you think of it, it's just another thing that if it's practical and usable and provides value, people are going to use it. And if it isn't, they'll stop using it, just like the ringtones.
Yep, for sure. And anytime, so people, they've always gotten kind of squirrely about, you know, it's going to take things away from people or whatever. And I am a firm believer that jobs morph over time, things morph, and we do this stuff to make it a little bit easier on ourselves, to do different things.
Right, exactly. Well, I think that about gets us at time here. I'd like to, you know, thank you for joining us in the studio today. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, you bet. We'll have to do it again because apparently that's something I inherited from you, is being able to talk forever.
Maybe you need to inherit you need to take over the microphone here and do the interviewing.
Maybe. I'll leave you to that for now.
All right. Well, we've got some more that we're trying to get in the can, and we'll be releasing our podcast fairly regularly. I think we have some pretty interesting other guests coming up too. Trying to get a lot of different perspectives and everything. Well, I'm really, you know, thankful for, you know, what the past, you know, going on 12 years or, you know, just about heading into 12 years of you being, you know, part of this whole thing. And can't wait to see what's coming down in the future.
Yeah, right. It's been great. It's going to be great in the future.
Yep. It's all right. All right. Well, we're so glad that you're able to join us today. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more exciting content. Make sure to reach out to us through our website if you have an IT topic you'd like to hear us discuss. And if you're interested in joining the podcast, reach out. I'd love to talk to you about having you on. Thank you for joining us for this conversation as you chart your course to the next destination. May your journey be filled with purpose and confidence. Until then, stay true to your compass.